We're unmuted.
Hello and welcome once again to another Battleground Games Live. Welcome to our dining room, and I hope that you will enjoy isolating together with us as we continue this isolation that we have been doing since March. So, for anybody joining us for the first time, welcome. Battleground Games and Hobbies is your friendly local game store in the greater Boston, Massachusetts area with 3 convenient locations. One up in Saugus, just past the Red Roof Inn on Route 1. One down in Norton by the Xfinity Center. And one sort of centrally located between them in Abington, which is where we normally, under normal circumstances, get together and hang out with our friends and play board games every Friday night. Things are not normal.
I am not getting any visual. Whatsoever. Yes. I can't tell if we're getting audio.
Okay. If anybody is in chat, tell us.
We're getting audio. Like I just can't.
We're streaming.
And I already reloaded once. You can hear and see us.
Good.
Super
Excellent.
Great.
So it's Amanda's computer, not our stream. Thank you, Lobster. What was I saying?
Don't love that.
Oh, yes. We used to get together every Friday night and play board games in Abington with our friends.
We seem to be angled very highly up.
Yes.
Seeing more of our windows and ceiling than...
Isn't it a lovely ceiling?
Yeah, it's great.
I can adjust that if you'll mute me for a sec.
I will. It also still says Obscurio and Mysterium Park.
I can fix that too.
So, unrelated to stream, Clara has a vet appointment on Wednesday.
Oh, poor girl.
And we're trying to get her comfortable with her crate. So I put some treats inside it. And she has decided she is not falling for that a second time, because that's how we got her to this apartment. She is sitting just outside the crate, looking very annoyed that the treats are inside the crate. She made a very, very annoyed sort of noise. Sorry, Clara, but you do have to get used to that crate. We may need to use the top loading one. I know it's small, but...
All right.
You are unmuted.
Thank you. So yeah, with things being the way they are, we can't hang out with friends and board game in the store. I mean, we could, but we'd have to be masked and socially distanced, and it wouldn't be as fun a stream, I think.
Yeah. It wouldn't stream well.
Yeah. So instead, we've been playing from our living room and hoping that folks will join us in chat and hang out. And we've played a ton of really fun games. Played a whole bunch of unlock games.
Yep.
Which are fantastic. We played a bunch of different 2-player variant type games.
Yep.
And this past weekend, we played a bunch of games via Zoom with friends, and it was a fantastic time.
It was a good time.
As part of our Extra Life fundraiser.
Which you can still donate to.
Yes, Amanda, if you want to do a ! Extra Life in your chat.
All one word or
yep.
Hyphenated?
No, all one word.
Okay. There we go.
So yeah, we're still accepting donations if you care to do such a thing. It was an amazing time, and I am still not fully recovered.
No.
Amanda had a day off yesterday.
And a day off today.
We both had the day off today. So today is my recovery day. I've had to work every day since Extra Life.
Yeah.
So today we made chili, and we made bread because I have to make bread to give away as prizes for Extra Life.
Yep.
And I played Fuser and Assassin's Creed. I'm playing the one set in Greece, not the one that just came out. And we just sort of hung out.
Yeah.
Had a relaxing day. And when it came to choosing a game to play, we were like, let's play something familiar.
Yeah, and something we know that we're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So we're going to play Chrononauts.
Yeah.
Chrononauts is one of our favorite games. It's been out for a long time. It's made by Looney Labs, and who also do Flux. And one of the things that I figured I'd let you do those because you could see the feed.
Yeah.
One of the things we love about this game is that it continues to be a challenge, no matter what. You get better at it as time goes on, but it's a challenge. It's still a challenge for us, and we've been playing it for a very long time. Oh yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Sorry, I misread one of the cards. The way this game works is you have a timeline, which Andy is putting out on the table right now. Each card in the timeline can happen one of two ways. One card can happen one of three ways, but we'll get to that. Most of the other cards can happen one of two ways. Some of them are what are called linchpins, and some are ripple points. So linchpins are important events that have an effect on the rest of the timeline, or at least some parts of the timeline. Ripple points are the things that are affected by those linchpins. So, for example, if Lincoln is assassinated, Andrew Johnson gets impeached later. But if Lincoln never gets assassinated, Andrew Johnson's not in a position to be impeached, so that's not going to happen. So, when you flip a linchpin, which are these purple cards, they turn orange. And then you have to turn over the blue cards if the linchpin has been flipped to red and orange. But they don't have anything on the back. They are now a paradox because the thing that happened didn't happen, but nothing else has happened instead. You got to patch those paradoxes. So in our deck of action cards, we have these orange patches. And there is a patch for 1868 wherein Lincoln gets impeached. So there it is, Abraham Lincoln impeached.
I'm going to go to overhead so that you can see what you're talking about.
So as we flip cards, you'll see some of them will show up black. I know there's a lot of glare near the bottom of the board here. Yeah. That's okay. There's not really much we can do about that with the lighting switch we've got. But we have to patch those by putting the matching patch card on top of them. This is the patch card for 1929 where the stock market crashes, which happens if the Titanic doesn't sink but is instead saved by avoiding the iceberg. That means that later in 1929, instead of the stock market crashing, the Titanic will explode.
Titanic explodes.
But we don't just get to do this. If you could just flip whatever you wanted whenever you wanted, it wouldn't be much of a challenge. So instead, we have a number of different action cards. We have Avert Disaster. We have Reverse Fate, we have Restore History, things like that, and we have the patches, and they all get shuffled into a pile of cards. And we only have a few in our hand at any given time. But why are we doing this? Because we have time travelers we are trying to get home. And each of them comes from a slightly different timeline. Sprout Girl looks very interesting. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
It's a fascinating game.
It's a really fascinating game.
So you can play it competitively, where each person has a secret identity and is trying to get the timeline to match that identity.
You each get handed one of these identities and you don't share it. In the competitive version, there are also actions you can take, like get there first. You can collect artifacts like Marie Antoinette's cake. There's the very good imitation of the Mona Lisa and the obvious imitation of Mona Lisa.
The forgeries of Mona Lisa.
The forgery of Mona Lisa is very good. The one forgery has like a mustache, so that's the obvious forgery. These are all the early American ones. I'm looking through it going, I don't recognize most of these.
But we don't tend to play it competitively.
Yeah.
There is a solitaire variant, which is what we're going to do today, where you draw 8 random time travelers and then attempt with only one pass through the deck to
try to get as
manipulate
many
the
as possible.
timeline to each necessary state. To
Maybe
get each
maybe you
traveler
will
home.
finally understand this game from watching this playthrough. We will try.
I mean, maybe not.
I love this game. It's a really fun game. We've only played it. So yeah, the obvious forgery has a mustache. The excellent forgery is winking at you.
Yeah. So here's the real thing, Mona Lisa.
And I actually have a signed card by Kristen Looney. She signed my Live Woolly Mammoth card, which was a promotional
an
card.
Forgery of the Mona Lisa. And here is an obvious forgery of the Mona Lisa. And one of the goals is to have the most believable Mona Lisa in your possession. If the only Mona Lisa out on the board is the obvious forgery, you can still win with that goal.
Perfect timing for you to learn it. Excellent. Yes, you joined us right at the beginning of the stream. So Andy, I have a question for you. This is an important question. Do we want to play with the gore years? Not this time?
Not this time through.
Okay.
Maybe if we do another playthrough, just because we don't have space for it on the stream, we'd have to move the camera around and stuff.
It's only like
But that's where
one more row.
the
Okay.
characters are going to go.
The Gore Years was an expansion that came out in 2000. Actually, no, not 2000, because it's definitely more recent than that. It came out when Obama was elected, because one of the cards is the first black president elected. Saddam Hussein captured, war continues in Afghanistan, George W. Bush wins presidency, and World Trade Center destroyed. You can, instead of the World Trade Center getting destroyed, you can do the hijackings are thwarted.
Yeah, so the whole thing with this game is that you're changing history.
Doesn't win, instead Gore wins, hence the Gore Years. And then instead of war continuing in Afghanistan, Saddam Hussein captured and first black president elected, we have Statue of Liberty destroyed, Osama bin Laden captured, and first female president elected, and unfortunately, it's Sarah Palin. But anyway, that was an expansion pack that came out. There is also the Early Americans expansion.
Which is another complete timeline.
It actually expands the timeline back that way. And you can play it by itself, or you can play it together with the main game. So it can be standalone, but it doesn't have to be standalone.
Yeah, a couple of different expansions, and we do own everything for this.
Yeah.
Yes, Clara, you may see a cat on stream.
Yeah, Clara, our cat is here, and she wants to be a part of things.
Do we want to choose our time travelers?
Oh, yeah. Here are the time travelers. You want to shuffle them?
One of the expansions that was released is actually crowdsourced time travelers.
Yeah.
Because each time traveler has a very short sort of nano-fiction that goes with it that explains that time traveler. And at one point, Looney Labs held a contest, and people were able to create their own time travelers. And there's an additional, I think, 8 time travelers that we have in this pile. So we'll see if we get any of those folk.
This is the Early Americans game. You can see it's just as big a deck as the full game. And it has all new time travelers, and it has new action cards. It has like start a fight, halt attack, steal plans. So that one's it's fun. And we haven't played it as much. I'm not as familiar with that timeline in terms of like what flips what. We've played this a lot, so I'm very familiar with like which
we
cards
this at
affect.
Conventions and.
I do a lot. I've demoed this a lot at conventions. It's really easy to get people to play it when you go, "Hi, would you like to kill Hitler?" And that will get someone's attention. And hopefully, the answer is always yes. I have yet to have someone tell me no. So,
all right. Shall we see who our time travelers are for this playthrough?
Who are our time travelers?
All right, we have Werner,
Werner. Doesn't he love, fairgoers love German cake?
It's one of his objectives.
Pretty
yes.
sure fairgoers love German cake.
He needs 1939 prime.
Yeah,
which
Germany
is
invading
fairgoers
Poland.
love German cake. He needs 1974 prime. So he needs...
Nixon to not resign.
Yep. Instead, President King takes office.
Yep.
And he needs the Soviet Union to collapse. So each time traveler has 2 alternate timeline pieces and 1...
like our timeline.
Yeah, our timeline.
One thing that matches the timeline as started, and 2 that don't. And they conflict a lot.
Yeah.
Which is the challenge in the solitaire or co-op version, is trying to get all of them home, because if, say, I flip one of these purple cards and that ripples something and I patch that ripple, if someone else also like needs it blue, then I can unflip this point, this linchpin, but that means I have to discard the patch, which means anyone else who needs it is out of luck. So
yeah, you'll see how it works. Now we have Angela, who needs 1917 prime. She needs 1929 prime.
Yep.
And she needs regular 1945. So we want to get her home early.
Yeah, I want to get her out of there early.
A-bombs to be dropped. We have Yitzhak.
We like to end with world peace
If we
in
can,
1945, if possible.
Yitzhak needs 1918 to be regular.
Mm-hmm.
He needs 1942 prime Nuremberg race laws repealed. And 1995 prime Koresh's ministry opens hospital.
Okay.
We have Betty. Betty also needs A-bombs dropped on Japan. She needs 1968 prime Vietnam Peace Accord signed, and she needs 1969 prime cosmonauts orbit the moon.
Okay.
We have Mason. Mason needs President King takes office, which is one of the ones that Werner needs.
Yep.
He needs Oklahoma City bombing, 1995 regular. And he needs 1999 prime guns banned, which is one of my favorite cards.
Yeah.
So
which happens
really
in place of the Columbine High School massacre.
Yes. The text on guns banned. I hope we get to play it. We'll just read it when it happens.
One of the things that's nice about this is trying to put the timeline the way you wish it had happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the appeals of this game.
And I was in college when Columbine happened. And yeah, there was something very terrifying about being on a college campus, being in a school situation. I can only imagine that it was the same for high school students at the time. But there was this awareness of how vulnerable you were in a classroom. So,
all right, Fruit Basket. I remember Fruit Basket needs 1868 prime, so Abraham Lincoln impeached instead of assassinated. We need 1933 prime, the mild recession,
instead of the Great Depression.
And then we need 1986 to be regular Challenger explodes. We have Tiberius, and we'll read some of the...
Yeah, we'll read their stories as we do them.
When we get to them. Tiberius needs 1942 prime Nuremberg race laws repealed, which somebody else needs. Yitzhak needs that.
I've got my fingers crossed because there are 2 characters in this pile that I really don't want to get as our last one.
Okay. I know. Are they both insects?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. We have Tiberius, needs 1942 prime, I just said that, needs 1969 regular, so direct
conflict with Betty.
Yep. And needs 1986 prime marijuana legalized.
Cool.
And
definitely
finally,
a better alternative to the Challenger exploding. Yes.
Renee. No squatrant.
Can I have the IDs?
Sure.
Thank you.
Renee needs 1917 regular. U.S. declares war on Germany. Needs 1929 prime Titanic explodes. And needs 1948 prime Berlin hosts World's Fair. So there are our time travelers. Now we need to manipulate the timeline in such a way as to get them all home.
So this, there are some really interesting characters in this deck, but these two came, one of them came with the base game and one of them came out of the user-generated stuff. And one is Squatrant. Squatrant is an intelligent cockroach from the future who needs World War III to happen, which blows up the rest of the timeline. In the distant future, sentient cockroach anthropologists studied our culture's fossils. Just as we examined dinosaur bones, they scrutinized our lingering traces, analyzing our ancient extinction. Imagine their surprise when, through psionic time travel, they discovered that they owed their very existence to the radioactive fallout from World War III. Their religions were shaken to their foundations. And then there's Crazy Joe.
Yep. So one of the features of this game is if you ever have 13 unpatched paradoxes on the board,
the timeline explodes and you lose.
Yeah.
Crazy Joe says, you win if, at any time, there are more than 12 unpatched paradoxes in the timeline. Tiki Hut at the end of the continuum. Welcome to Crazy Joe's, he said as I walked in, but where else was I going to go? Since the collapse of time-space, there's not much left. TRAHQ is still investigating who could have done such a thing. Give me a Java hut, Joe. I might be here a while. Boy, this place is busy. So, yeah, those two make things really difficult if you have them in your pile of 8, because there are certain things you have to do that mess up everyone else, not just like one other person.
All right, so let's see if we can actually pull this off. How many cards do we have in our hand?
5.
That's not many.
Nope, sure isn't.
So we only get to go through the deck once. So if there's any...
I'm going to shuffle this because I got 3 Prevent Assassinations in our opening hand.
That's
that
odd.
Seems odd, yeah. Seems unusual. It's an unusual number of Prevent Assassinations.
So each patch is only once in the deck.
Yep.
So we need to use every patch in the right order in order to get all 8
I
time
have
travelers
considered
home.
buying a second copy of the game so that you get slightly more chances of getting it in the solitaire version, just because solitaire is so challenging. Solitaire is really challenging.
Yeah, when we're demoing it, we usually demo only 4.
3.
3?
I take 3 characters and I challenge the person I'm demoing it for to get 1 person home out of the 3. If you're playing competitively, there are alternate win conditions, because if someone else happens to have the patch you need in their hand and they don't need it, they might discard it and then you're kind of screwed. So there are other ways to win. You can get secret missions that involve getting artifacts and stuff. And there are ways to steal cards from your opponents and things like that. Those are not in here. The alternate win conditions don't exist in the solitaire version. So there's not really, because there's no way to like be stealing artifacts from each other. You're gonna reach them all in the deck eventually. So yeah, without alternate win cons, if you get a shuffle. Without alternate win cons and with 8 travelers to get home, it is a real challenge.
We've done it a couple of times.
We've done it once or twice.
But not...
We almost always have like 1 or 2 people we just can't get home at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I demo it, I give them 3 people, and I usually give them Werner, I want to say Renee. I have like a set that I give them.
So, Looney Labs announced a Star Trek version of Chrononauts, and I don't think it's come out yet. I think that all this everything has caused that to be delayed, but that is something I am really looking forward to.
But
right.
yeah.
Go ahead and draw your hand of 5.
It's a challenge. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we have a halt attack, President King takes office, sabotage, reverse fate,
Mirage,
and Allied troops invade Tokyo.
Nobody needs Allied
Nobody
troops.
needs that, right? And we can discard that and draw another hand.
We do need President King takes office.
Okay. Who needs that? That is over here. Werner?
Mason and
Werner and
both
Mason.
need it,
Okay, well.
which is 1974 prime.
Yep.
Um,
And that gets primed by Lincoln and JFK. It has to be both of them.
okay.
Well, pity we don't have all those prevent assassinations.
Yeah.
We have a halt attack, we have a sabotage, and we have an avert disaster. So who needs what?
Reverse fates are obviously very powerful because you
Yeah.
just get to flip a card and they don't.
Yeah, a Star Trek version would be so cool, right?
Yeah.
Need it. Let me see if there's any news about it.
Yeah, I feel like I have it on pre-order at the store, but don't quote me on that. I'm virtually positive I have it on pre-order. This was supposed to be the year of time travel for Looney Labs, because there was Star Trek Chrononauts. There was, what was the Time Thief game that we played?
It looks like it's out.
I need to get it.
It's just up for order on
Nice.
their site. So yeah, they have all the cards look like the control panels from Next Gen, which is great. Chrono Trek is what they're calling it. Explore the history and alternate history of the entire Star Trek universe in this version of Chrononauts. Take on the ID of one of your favorite Star Trek characters as you try to alter history to restore your specific timeline. Or maybe you need to ensure that the Federation gets founded, or just retrieve the Orb of Time and some tea. Earl Grey, hot.
We must own
I
this
need
game.
this. I need this. I need this. I need this. So yeah, it's got like Dr. Leonard McCoy, and he needs Allied forces win Earth's World War II, but then he also needs Detroit wiped out by plague. And he needs the artifact Guardian of Forever. So they need artifacts. Interesting. Yeah, Edith Keeler killed by car, and then Edith Keeler almost dies. Allied forces win Earth's World War II. Yay! Nazi forces win Earth's World War II. Uh-oh.
We're going to have to get that.
Oh, I need it. I need it. I need it. I need it.
I'll see if I can get it by next weekend. In the meantime, I think we just need to bite the bullet and use our reverse fate. The question is, do we use it on Lincoln or Nixon or Kennedy?
I don't know. Hold on, I'm telling Toshi about this.
Oh.
My friend Toshi, need it, right? My friend Toshi and I are big Star Trek fans. We are big Star Trek garbage fans. And we have also played Chrononauts with Toshi, because we played it that time we were in Vegas.
Yeah.
We met my friend Toshi, who I mostly know from the internet, in Vegas for our anniversary, for our second anniversary, and ended up just hanging out in our hotel rooms playing Chrononauts.
So let's talk this through.
Because none of us gamble.
If we save Lincoln's life,
Yeah.
it changes 1868 and 1974. Well, it doesn't do 1974 immediately.
My other question is,
Yeah.
are there anything that we could use, is there anything we could use one of these that someone who needs President King taking office
Okay.
would also need?
So he needs
So that-
Fairgoers to Love German Cake, which
Yes,
is
he does.
1939 prime. That needs Hitler to be assassinated. Mason needs Guns Banned, which means you need to save, or you need to kill Reagan, I believe. Paradox Stiff 1980 prime. Oh no, it needs you to save John Lennon's life.
God, it's all assassinations.
Yeah.
How annoying.
Well, we could look at other cards.
Yeah.
Titanic explodes.
Yeah, we
That
could
means-
keep that from happening.
you have to stop Titanic sinks.
Yep.
Which means,
29 and 33. So stock market crashes. I don't think anyone needs the stock market to crash. Nope. And 33, the Great Depression.
We have somebody who needs the mild recession, right?
Right,
Yes.
which means we want to flip that.
Yeah.
But we don't need anyone who needs the Great Depression.
All right, so let's save the Titanic with a disaster averted.
Avert disaster. We have saved the Titanic.
Titanic avoids iceberg. We almost hit that, says Lookout. So that flips 1929.
It doesn't flip this yet because the Lusitania is still sinking.
Okay.
But now we have David Koresh's ministry opens new hospital, which we need.
Oh, do we?
So we need both of these.
Yeesh. Okay.
Yeah, we need Koresh for Yitzhak.
Okay. So that requires paradoxed if 1993 Waco compound. So halt attack can be used on Waco, so we could flip that. Does anybody need the Oklahoma City bombing? Yes, Mason needs it.
Yeah, Mason needs it.
So we're going to have to flip that back at some point.
Well, that sucks, but...
Yeah. So let's use a halt attack to stop the attack on Waco.
Done.
So instead of Waco compound burns to the ground, Waco standoff defused peacefully. Tanks withdrawn from area. And that flips 1995. So instead of the Oklahoma City bombing, currently we have a paradox.
Hey, guess what we drew? Prevent assassination.
Excellent. Do we want to patch this now?
Sure.
Just to... Okay.
We'll get another card.
Yep.
World War III. We don't need World War III for anyone.
Nope, discard that.
Excellent.
Straight out.
Warsaw hosts Olympic Games.
Yes.
Yes, we do need that for someone.
Don't
we?
Oh, maybe not.
No. I don't see it.
No, okay. We don't need that.
Fairgrows love German cake, but Warsaw's not hosting the Olympic Games.
Okay.
Guns banned?
Yes, we definitely
Guns
need
banned. Excellent. Okay.
All right, so currently...
Whose assassination do we want to prevent?
David Koresh. I think we want to save John Lennon.
That's the Koresh card. So.
Okay.
We want to save Lennon?
Well, if we save
then
Lennon...
we can get guns banned.
Yeah.
And then we need to have President King take office, but that will get Mason home.
Okay. So yeah, let's prevent
Right.
John Lennon's assassination with the prevent assassination.
Or no, we can't. We can't because Oklahoma City bombing is what we just flipped. So we can't get Mason home until after we get Koresh.
Oh.
Until after we get Yitzhak home.
Who else needs Koresh?
I think he's the only one.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the only one who needs that.
Okay.
So let's get President King in office.
Sure.
So that means we need JFK. We need to save JFK.
And Lincoln.
And Lincoln. Okay. So who do we want to save first?
Okay, so Lincoln is going to not do that, but potentially.
Yeah.
And 1868, or no, I'm sorry,
It's that.
1868.
Yeah, it's just Andrew Johnson impeached.
Does somebody need that?
It's all becoming clear to you now. Is it actually, or was that sarcasm?
We need Abraham Lincoln impeached for Fruit Basket to go home.
Cool. Well, I don't think anyone needs Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
I don't think anyone needs Andrew Johnson impeached. Does anyone need Andrew Johnson impeached? No.
Nope. So
cool.
Go ahead and...
Sarcasm. Okay. I think it would be easier to follow if you sat down and played it with us.
Yeah.
Have you played this with us, or have you only seen it played on stream? Like, have we ever played it when you've been here? Like when you've been with us?
Do you want to prevent that assassination?
Let's prevent that assassination.
Okay. Lincoln is no longer assassinated.
Lincoln's been wounded instead. Theatrical event marred by attempt to kill the president, which means that Andrew Johnson is no longer getting impeached.
All right, we get to draw a new card.
All right. Another reverse fate.
Okay.
Right, now that we have two reverse fates.
Reverse fate.
Well, now that we have two, I feel a little better about using one.
Okay.
We've played together, but you guys are so adept that things happen fast. Like, yeah, that's true. We have played a lot. We should just set it up and let you play around with it and play around with the timeline. Because that's how we learned it, was just playing solitaire over and over and over again. So that we know how things work.
Well, shall we prevent JFK's assassination?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So reverse fate on JFK.
That's going to...
It's going to ripple a bunch.
Ripple 1968, 1969, and 1974.
Okay. So 74, we can immediately flip. We can immediately
President
patch.
King takes office.
So President King is taking office, but fairgoers don't love German cake yet.
Okay.
President King is taking office, but guns haven't been banned yet.
Darn. Are we stuck already?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can't undo this until we get him home.
Yep.
Who needs David Koresh?
David Koresh is Yitzhak, who needs the Nuremberg race laws repealed.
Okay, so let's concentrate on that now.
Let's
Draw
hope
another card.
we can get it.
So Nuremberg race laws repealed is 1942 prime, so we need to assassinate Hitler. Do we have an assassination?
No, we don't. I'm always down with assassinating Hitler.
Let's do it.
All right.
We're going to have to use one.
You're following it much better this time, at least getting the flavor of how it works. That's good, at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea is you're trying to get this to look like what someone wants it to look like, but a lot of times they're in direct opposition to each other, or a linchpin flips more than one thing. So while, you know, this person and this person may not be in direct opposition in terms of the years that they need, the years that they need might be affected by the same linchpin. So flipping one affects the other. All right, so what are we doing? We are assassinating Hitler?
Yes, let's do it. We'll use one of our reverse fates.
Oh, hey! Fairgoers love German cake, Andy.
Oh, good. All right.
So we have assassinated Hitler.
What's it say?
Berlin Olympics marred by sniper attack on host nation's leader. So Germany is no longer invading Poland. In 1942, the final solution is not undertaken. Oh yeah, like we said, we've done it a couple of times. We've managed to get all 8 home.
44 does not
a couple of times.
Flip unless Pearl Harbor as well.
Yeah.
45 is flipped.
Yep. No A-bombs. And 48 because Israel doesn't get founded. All right, so fairgoers can love German cake. And if fairgoers love German cake and President King takes office and the Soviet Union collapses, Werner gets to go home.
Yay! Thank you. Werner is home.
Yeah.
Do you want to read his nanofiction?
Sure. Okay. This is The Mona Lisa Switcheroo, Part 1. A few years before Werner's time machine became operational, the Mona Lisa disappeared and was never recovered. So Werner's first trip into the past involved replacing Leonardo's original work with a replica and bringing back the original. But the art experts denounced it as a fake. The canvas was too new and the paint too fresh.
Yeah.
It is, so the fact that you're randomly drawing cards can also make it impossible, because that patch that you need to get that one person home before anyone else can get home may be the last card in the deck.
Yeah, that's why solitaire is a challenge.
Yeah.
Do you want to draw another card?
I am going to do that. Nazis win! No one needs that.
Oops.
And we got a reverse fate instead.
Okay.
Love discarding that card. Love it.
All right.
So we now have guns banned and President Wilson keeps the U.S. out of war. We have a restore history, a sabotage, and a reverse fate.
Do we need President Wilson?
Yeah.
Oh.
Angela.
So she needs the Titanic to explode, which we could do if we had it.
She also needs A-bombs dropped on Japan, which we currently don't have.
Yeah. Okay.
So at some point, unfortunately, we're going to have to not assassinate Hitler.
Yeah. Let's sabotage something, I guess. Just
sure.
use our sabotage. Oh my God, it's a mirage.
So sabotage affects the Hindenburg, the Manhattan Project, and Sputnik.
Yeah.
So the Hindenburg affects 1950, which is Seoul captured by North Korea. I don't think anyone needs that. Does anyone need the opposite?
No,
the
nobody
1950?
needs 1950 prime.
So we don't need that. Manhattan Project, 1943, is affected. It affects 45, which is already flipped, and 62, which is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Does anyone need 62 prime? I don't see 62 on here at all.
No.
Okay. And Sputnik in 1957 affects 62 and 69, which is already flipped.
Is this an...
What is that?
No, it's an or.
Yeah, it is. And that's...
Yeah, we have a 69 prime.
Yeah.
Which is cosmonauts orbit the moon.
Yeah.
Betty needs that.
But that means we don't really need any of the sabotage. Like, none of the sabotage things are things that we need to do, so we can discard sabotage.
And get something else.
Right. Zeppelin factory opened in Seoul.
Nobody needs that.
I don't think anyone needs it.
Just running through this deck.
Another reverse fate.
All
so we have 2 reverse fates and a restore history.
Yeah. We're going to probably use the restore history to unassassinate Hitler at some point. But we want to get... Well, we don't need fairgoers anymore.
Does anyone need the Great Depression?
No.
Okay.
We actually need that flipped.
Does the U.S. need to declare war on Germany? Yes, we do for Renee.
Yes. Yeah, Renee needs Titanic explodes, which if we find the patch, we can get out there. Berlin hosts World Fair, which we don't have the patch for either. And U.S. declares war on Germany.
Oh, it was Warsaw I was thinking of. I'm just thinking about getting President Wilson keeping the U.S. out of war onto the table.
Okay.
That's 1917. Unfortunately, I think Renee and Angela are kind of in direct opposition. Angela needs Wilson to keep the U.S. out of war in 1917. They both need the Titanic to explode, but then Angela needs A-bombs dropped on Japan, and Renee needs Berlin hosting the World's Fair.
Okay. Well,
and both of those are affected by the same thing, so we'll need to decide what order to do them in.
Let's save the Lusitania.
Okay. We're going to save the Lusitania with reverse fate. Let's flip that.
Lusitania arrives safely. Steamship escapes harm despite submarine blockade. 1917 prime. And 1933 prime.
Here, take that immediately.
Okay. President Wilson keeps the U.S. out of war. So the U.S. never got into World War I. Berlin hosts World's Fair.
And cosmonauts orbit the moon, which I'm pretty sure we need for someone.
Yeah, so let's not...
Yeah, Betty needs that. So let's put that aside for now. Berlin hosting the World's Fair. Do we want to just go ahead and patch that?
Sure.
Okay, so Berlin is hosting the World's Fair. We need the Titanic to explode, and then we need the U.S. to declare war on Germany. So, yeah, Angela needs to go home first, I think.
Okay, draw a card.
Actually, let's not host that yet, because we're going to lose it if we flip it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll put these over here.
Who needs
I cannot draw a card right now.
Who needs cosmonauts?
Betty. Who also needs A-bombs dropped on Japan and the Vietnam Peace Accord signed.
She's going to be tough to get home.
Yeah, she's going to be a pain in the butt.
All right. I think we unassassinate Hitler.
God dang it.
So, That nullifies fairgoers love German cake.
Yeah, fairgoers no longer love German cake. 1942 flips.
1945.
And 1948.
All right.
Because we would have lost the Berlin Host World's Fair.
All right. So currently, A-bombs dropped on Japan.
Yep. Wilson is keeping the U.S. out of the war.
And we need Titanic explodes. This also needs A-bombs dropped.
Cosmonauts orbit the moon in 1969. Do we want to go ahead and put that patch down?
Sure.
We need the Vietnam Peace Accord signed for someone, right?
Vietnam Peace Accord.
68?
Yes.
Yeah.
68 prime. All right. So, A-bombs dropped on Japan.
Yep.
Check.
Yep.
Vietnam Peace Accord signed.
Yep.
U.S. troops pulled out of war-torn nation. Cosmonauts orbit the moon. America's space program still lagging behind. So Betty goes home.
Betty
goes
home.
Do you want to read her nanofiction?
Yes. Saving JFK. Having unraveled the conspiracy and with strong public support, the NTTA, the National Time Travel Administration, undertook the first major historical rewrite, preventing the Kennedy assassination. But although the second-term JFK did avert the Vietnam War, without the martyrdom factor, there came a third major change. The first man on the moon was a cosmonaut.
So Betty gets to go home.
Yep.
All right.
Okay. We have another avert disaster, which we can immediately discard.
Right, we decided we didn't need those.
The European economy booms.
No.
I don't think anyone needs that.
No, nobody needs the European economy to boom.
Titanic explodes.
Let's do it.
So
Steamship sinks after striking derelict mine.
So, the Wilson has kept the U.S. out of war.
Yep.
The Titanic has exploded.
Yep.
And A-bombs have been dropped on Japan.
Angela goes home.
Angela goes home. I had tracked an elusive time criminal to an abandoned mill. After a brief struggle, I had caught this masked woman, but under the mask was me, 5 years later. My duty was to uphold the time stream, so I put my older self in prison and went on a 5-year crime spree.
I love some of these stories. I love this game.
They're so good.
I love this game.
They're
All right.
So good.
All right.
Let me draw a card.
Who needed the Titanic to explode? Renee.
So the Titanic is exploded. Berlin is not currently hosting the World's Fair, but I have the card for it. And U.S. is not declaring war on Germany because President Wilson kept the U.S. out of the war. But we've, I think, done both of the people who needed Wilson to keep the U.S. out of war. We did Angela. That's what she needed. So, yeah, we can probably unsink the Lusitania. Does anyone need 33 prime? Yes. Fruit Basket needs the mild recession.
Okay.
Now, I have communism reinventing itself. Does anyone need communism to reinvent itself?
No.
Cool, then I'm going to discard that. Another reverse fate. We now have 3 reverse fates.
All right, so we're going to have to manipulate the timeline a little bit.
And then hope that we get the patches we need.
We no longer need cosmonauts to orbit the moon, correct?
Correct. Yeah, Betty was the only one who needed that.
We do need to keep President King in office.
Yep.
I like the text on President King takes office as well.
Yes. VP King becomes first black president following impeachment of Nixon.
It's so much fun to manipulate the timeline.
It's so good.
Ah, man. Okay, we're having some trouble here.
Yeah. We need to draw the mild recession.
We could just discard a reverse fate. We might regret it.
No, I think we'll regret it.
Okay, so what can we manipulate? We could kill Hitler again.
We could.
All right, so what do we need?
So right now we need to draw. This one we just need to set something back the way it was because the patches that we need are in place. This one we need to draw the Nuremberg race laws.
Which is a 42 prime.
Which we need for both of those.
Okay.
This we need to undo some stuff, but we have the patch we need for it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, so we need to flip David Koresh.
Yeah. And this, we need both patches for it, and we need to undo something.
So let's reverse fate the Waco standoff diffused peacefully and go back to Waco compound disaster.
No.
Oh, he needs Koresh.
We need that. Yeah, he needs Koresh.
Ah. All right. So yeah, let's kill Hitler.
Okay, let's kill Hitler again. Sounds good to me. So 39, Germany's going to not invade Poland. 42, final solution is not undertaken. 44 doesn't happen.
Yep.
45, no more A-bombs. And 48, Israel not founded.
So you have to use the reverse fate for that.
Yep. So Berlin is going to host the World's Fair, 1948. Sure. So we're going to have
Titanic explodes.
Yeah, the Titanic explodes and Berlin is hosting the World's Fair, but we need to not have the U.S. declare war on Germany.
Yeah. And we can't do that until we get...
if President Wilson keeps the U.S. out of war, that means we need to stop the Lusitania, which means, we could do that. Because no one needs 33. And does anyone need 17 prime? Oh, no one needs 17 prime.
All right. Well, draw 2 cards and see what you get.
Yeah, let's sink the Lusitania, though. Restore history and a reverse fate.
All right, so restore history on the Lusitania.
Yep.
Lusitania, instead of arriving safely, sinks. German submarine torpedoes ocean liner. That flips 17, so that goes away.
Because we didn't have the mild recession on here yet.
Yeah, we're going to have to flip that back.
Yeah, we'll have to do it back, but...
All right, so what do we have right now? We have U.S. declares war on Germany.
Yep.
Titanic explodes. Yep. Berlin hosts World's Fair.
Renee gets to go home.
Tell us about Renee.
2:11 a.m., April 15th, 1912. The time traveler stood on the tilting deck of the Titanic. At last we know what really happened this night, she said quietly, while waiting for the automatic return cycle to engage. But the accounts were wrong. The great ship sank 9 minutes early. 200 years in the future, the Titanic claims an extra victim.
Man. Vicious.
Dark.
Vicious.
Dark. Well, we've now gotten half of our travelers home, which is
We're making
quite
good progress
good,
here.
honestly. Okay. So we've got another prevent assassination I just drew.
Okay.
President King has taken office. We haven't banned guns because we need Koresh for that one. So we need the Nuremberg race laws repealed. And
so we're going to have to discard. Let's discard the prevent assassination.
Yeah, it's less useful.
Fingers crossed. What do we draw?
World peace.
Much as I love it, we're not going to use it this game.
Yeah, much as I love it, we would have to flip Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, we could, but that would affect...
Let's discard it, but just put it aside and we
Does anyone need D-Day?
No. Do you want to...
I'm just looking to see... I mean, no one needs D-Day.
So you would have to flip Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
That flips 44 and 45.
45's already flipped.
All right.
Because it's an or on the other side. And no one needs D-Day to have happened.
So you're going to use a reverse fate on Pearl Harbor bombed by Japan?
Yeah.
All right, so instead of Pearl Harbor bombed by Japanese, raid on Pearl Harbor called off by Tokyo. U.S. remains neutral, which flips 1945, the Manhattan Project.
That's not 1945.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it flips 1944.
Yeah.
45 is already flipped.
And we will patch 1945 with world peace for once, for a little while. There's no war anywhere.
I consider that a win.
It is playable only if you have both assassinated Hitler and called off Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Because then if the U.S. is neutral, but Hitler's dead, then it's okay.
Well, we get to draw 2 new cards.
Yep.
And now there's world peace.
Marijuana legalized. And a reverse fate. Someone needs marijuana legalized.
Yeah, but if we do it, Koresh is going to flip, right? Or no?
No.
99 is paradoxed if 1980 flips. So we're going to have to save John Lennon. Flips 99.
And it flips 86. The Challenger explodes, so fruit basket.
We'll have to flip it back.
Yeah.
But let's save John Lennon's life.
Sure.
I like the text on the other side of John Lennon, too.
So yeah, deranged fan guns down Rockstar on New York City street, or mystery Samaritan intervenes in street attack on Rockstar, then disappears into Central Park.
Who could that mystery Samaritan have been?
So this doesn't flip yet.
Oh, okay.
Because we need to kill Reagan.
Right. But
we do get to flip Columbine.
High School Massacre does not happen.
Yep. Senator Lennon's campaign to outlaw guns results in passage of Amendment 29, which repeals the Second Amendment.
So, I like this timeline that we're in right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We have another prevent assassination, and we've got the mild recession.
Somebody needs that.
Yeah, someone does need it. We basically need to resave the Lusitania. The mild recession is Fruit Basket, who needs both the Challenger to explode and the mild recession, and Abraham Lincoln impeached, which we haven't found.
Okay.
So do we want to resync
the Lusitania
or resave the Lusitania?
Yeah.
Let's use a reverse fate on that. So Lusitania.
Flip.
Yep. Which flips 17.
17.
Yep. And 33. Because we've also... so 33, mild recession. So Abraham Lincoln has not been impeached yet because we need to find that card. But the mild recession and the Challenger exploding are happening right now.
Okay. Draw 2 cards.
Abraham Lincoln has been impeached, which means Fruit Basket gets to go home. Bob who? 50 years after the invention of time travel, the one eternal constant was the need for qualified time machine repairmen like Bob Fruit Basket. Bob could fix anything, including the 43 Panasonic D-Paradoxer. Unfortunately, a careless tourist's time ripple changed Bob's destiny before he ever learned time machine repair. Instead, he's a lunar real estate agent. Nuremberg race laws repealed. Let's immediately patch that.
Okay.
All right, so Nuremberg race laws have been repealed.
Apollo 11 is not landing on the moon currently.
Is Europe in ruins? Europe is in ruins.
Yep.
Nuremberg race laws have been repealed, and Koresh's hospital is open. So Yitzhak gets to go home. My great-great-grandparents died at Auschwitz. The 1936 Berlin Olympics ended in chaos. Adolf Hitler assassinated. Afterwards, things gradually improved for German Jews, but the sniper was a time traveler. The universe rippled back to normal when another chrononaut stopped the assassin. How do I know? I was in the time traveler's tiki lounge at the time. Technically, I don't exist.
All right. I think we're going to win this.
I think we're going to do it.
I think we're going to get there.
Okay.
All right. So that required Koresh.
Right.
We can flip Koresh now.
Yeah, we can unflip Koresh. We can restore history.
Yep.
Waco standoff diffused peacefully. Unfortunately, that has not happened. Which means the Oklahoma City bombing has now happened. The Oklahoma City bombing has happened. President King took office and guns are banned.
Mason goes home.
Mason gets to go home. I should have looked at his face. Once I ran over an old man. When Dr. Argus's time center opened, I had to stop myself, but too late. I saw my own headlights coming at me. When I didn't return, Argus guessed what happened, came back and told my younger self. I'm now traveling timelines, instituting licensing systems to prevent it from happening again. Yeah.
Time travel, man. It's confusing.
All right, so...
We need to get Tiberius home.
Yes. So the way we're going to get Tiberius home, Nuremberg race laws have been repealed, and marijuana... We have marijuana legalized in hand.
We have to flip Apollo 11.
So what we need is to kill Reagan.
Okay.
So let's reverse fate to kill Reagan.
Okay. So what's the text under Reagan assassinated?
President survives shooting only to die on the operating table, which flips the Challenger exploding and flips the Soviet Union collapsing.
Okay.
We will go ahead and do that and legalize marijuana.
President Mondale what?
President Mondale signs bill repealing prohibition after protest on shuttle launch pad staged by John Lennon. Yeah.
Man, I like this timeline.
Yeah, I'm okay with this, and we still have world peace, which is great. So Apollo 11 lands on the moon is the last thing we need, which unfortunately I think means we need to kill JFK.
Okay.
Or not kill.
69 regular.
Yeah.
Where's 69? 69 regular.
It's nullified by Sputnik and JFK. So we need to flip JFK back to regular.
Okay.
So unfortunately we have to kill JFK again.
Okay.
Which means we're going
to
restore history.
Mm-hmm. So now Sputnik is normal.
Yep.
JFK is normal.
Yep. So that flips 68. So unfortunately the Vietnam Peace Accord has not been signed.
Oh well.
And 74, which means President King no longer takes office.
No.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
I like that one.
But.
All right. Apollo 11 lands on the moon.
Yep.
Nuremberg race laws repealed.
Yep.
Marijuana legalized.
Yep.
Tiberius goes home.
We did it.
We did it.
We did it, y'all.
Chat. We made it.
And I want to point out.
Last card.
That was the last card in the deck.
Yep. That was the perfect run.
You love all the possibilities? Yeah, that's what we love about this, is creating a timeline and seeing what happens with it. So, Tiberius, the slingshot effect. Now that the chief science officer... Oh, thanks you, Lobster.
Celebratory bits.
Now that the chief science officer has mastered the slingshot effect, allowing us to harness the sun's gravity to propel the ship forward or backward through time, we've been able to search out even more new life and new civilizations. Of course, the crew has a non-interference directive, but let's face it, accidents do happen.
Tiberius.
Yeah. I can't wait for Trek.
Yeah.
Chrono Trek.
Chrono Trek. We're going to get it.
I need it.
We'll play it on stream.
Oh, I'm so excited that we did it. High five, hon.
High five.
Good job.
That was fantastic.
There were some dicey moments in there where we thought we had some real conflicts, but we managed it.
So what is the final timeline?
So our final timeline is Lincoln does not get assassinated. Instead, he's just wounded. Theatrical event marred by attempt to kill the president. But then in 1968, 3 years later, he does get impeached. President escapes conviction and removal from office by 1 vote. The Titanic does avoid the iceberg. We almost hit that, says Lookout. Unfortunately, Archduke Ferdinand does get assassinated, which,
causes World War I.
Is a bummer, and starts World War I. But the Lusitania arrives safely. Steamship escapes from harm despite submarine blockade, which is great.
In 1979, nothing happens. 17, sorry.
Yeah, don't know what happens in 1917. Just sort of vague, gray nothingness. Europe is unfortunately still in ruins after World War I. We're not sure how that happened because of the vague nothingness in between.
We'll just not read the line of text under there.
But yeah. Oh yeah, no, let's not do that. Unfortunately, the Titanic didn't sink, but later it explodes.
Yeah. The Titanic is just doomed either way.
Oh well. The mild recession happens, though. Things could be a lot worse, says FDR. And then, before he really gets a chance to rise to power and mess things up, Adolf Hitler gets assassinated. Berlin Olympics marred by sniper attack on host nation's leader. You love to see it. Zeppelin, the Hindenburg does unfortunately still explode. The Zeppelin bursts into flames while landing at Lakehurst. Nothing really happens in 1939.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Germany doesn't invade Poland, but vague nothingness instead. And then the raid on Pearl Harbor gets called off by Tokyo. Don't know why, but they decide to.
Yep. So the U.S. remains neutral.
Yeah.
Doesn't go into the war.
Which there's not really much war to go into because Adolf Hitler got assassinated. So, there's not really as much going on. There's nothing going on in the European theater, and the Pacific theater looks like it was cooling off without us storming in. So, okay. Nuremberg race laws are repealed. New government restores full citizenship to German Jews. Hitler, wasn't there, so couldn't whip up that frenzy. The Manhattan Project does still happen. Apparently, we still decide we need atomic bombs.
Even though there's world peace in a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, we're working on secret government project works to build the atomic bomb. These things, we could reverse that, I guess. No, because that, yeah, it doesn't ripple 45. 45 only gets affected by Hitler and Pearl Harbor. What else? 1962?
Oh, 62?
The Cuban Missile Crisis. We have a reverse fate.
Okay.
Let's just do that.
No Manhattan Project?
Yeah, the Manhattan Project got sabotaged. Atomic bomb program set back by 2 years. Neat.
So now there's just vague nothingness where there used to be the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Nothing happens in 1944. Mm-hmm. What would have happened?
That would have been D-Day.
Oh, yeah. D-Day just doesn't happen. There's
no war. In fact, in 1945, for a brief shining moment, there's no war anywhere in the entire world.
Harsher restrictions for parole violators and world peace. Miss Congeniality is very underrated.
So, yeah.
Yeah, world peace. And then Berlin hosts the World's Fair. 6 million tourists visit Futuristic Expo. City's in great shape. There was no war. Seoul was still captured by North Korea, unfortunately. The Korean War begins after USA's occupation forces are withdrawn from South Korea. I don't know why we were occupying, but apparently we were.
Yeah.
So, Sputnik does get launched. The Russians do still launch Sputnik, which is great.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
The Russians stun the world by orbiting first satellite. That's fine. Absolutely
1962,
fine. Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing happens, really.
Because
no
the
Cuban
Manhattan
Missile
Project
Crisis
was sabotaged in 43.
Yeah, no one gets all worked up.
Do you want to prevent an assassination?
Sure.
Let's prevent an assassination.
Let's keep JFK from being killed. Neat.
So that flips 68, 69, and 74. So a bunch of paradoxes in the world.
That's fine. There aren't 13.
So
we're fine.
JFK injured in motorcade shooting. Doctors predict full recovery.
Nice. Neat. That's great.
So then there's nothing eventful in 68, 69, or 74.
But then in 1980, John Lennon is nearly killed. But a mystery Samaritan intervenes in the street attack on Rockstar, then disappears into Central Park. Reagan, on the other hand, does get assassinated, survives the shooting, only to die on the operating table. And then, in 1986, 5 years later, marijuana gets legalized when President Mondale signs a bill repealing prohibition after protest on shuttle launch pad staged by John Lennon. I do like that as an alternative to the Challenger exploding because that keeps the Challenger from launching, which means it never explodes.
Gotcha. I never really thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah. Nothing really happens in 91.
Uneventful year.
Yeah, very uneventful year. And the Soviet Union apparently just keeps on trucking. Unfortunately, the Waco compound does burn to the ground.
Yeah, we actually used up that reverse fate, so we don't have that.
But, you know, and the Oklahoma City bombing does still happen.
Yeah.
But hey, we got guns banned.
Thank you, John Lennon. Senator Lennon's campaign to outlaw guns results in passage of Amendment 29, which repeals the Second Amendment.
People have asked Kristen Looney, what are the amendments in between? She's like, I don't know. I just figured there would have been some. So, yeah.
That's a pretty good timeline.
That's pretty decent timeline.
I mean, world peace.
World peace, marijuana legalized, guns banned, the mild recession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a pretty nice world to live in.
No nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor's okay. JFK was fine.
I like this timeline.
Hitler's dead. And honestly, I mean, fuck Ronald Reagan.
I wonder if the AIDS epidemic was curtailed
By Mondale?
by Mondale.
I mean, Reagan certainly didn't
No.
do anything to stop it. So anything would have been, any help at all would have been better.
Shall we look at the early Americans timeline? Because
Sure.
we've not really played with that
We
much.
haven't played with early Americans nearly as much. I'm really proud of us for doing this and getting such a good timeline.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's take a picture of this one because
Okay.
this is pretty good.
This is near optimal. And you guys saw it. You saw it happen in real time.
There we go. Awesome.
So we already talked about the possibilities for the Goriers, which is 8 more cards here.
It's not 8, it's only 4.
Oh, it's only 4?
Yeah, it's a short timeline.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it was only a few years later. So
Yeah, I guess.
it is, or maybe it's 5? Yeah, it's 5. So it is let's see. George W. Bush wins presidency. World Trade Center destroyed. War continues in Afghanistan. Saddam Hussein captured. And first black president elected.
Okay.
And then instead of the Bush presidency, we've got Gore. Instead of the war, and that would flip these two there. So Gore wins the presidency. I like that that's the state of Florida.
Yep.
Damn hanging chads. Unfortunately, Sprout Girl left and may have missed my great timeline. That's okay. Florida recount ends with defeat of George W. Bush. God, if only. Hijackings thwarted. Anonymous tip results in capture of terrorists on 4 different airplanes. War continues in Afghanistan. After defeating the Taliban, Operation Enduring Freedom continues to pursue al-Qaeda.
Yeah, so what are the alternatives?
Saddam Hussein captured 9 months after the invasion of Iraq. The deposed tyrant is found in an underground refuge. And 2008, outspoken stance on Iraq war leads to historic victory for Barack Obama. Our alternatives there are 2002, the Statue of Liberty destroyed. Explosives-filled helicopter crashed into landmark statue by al-Qaeda terrorists. Osama bin Laden captured. Leader of al-Qaeda found in a terrorist compound on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. And first female president elected. Sarah Palin, who gained fame during the 2004 McCain campaign, narrowly defeats VP Lieberman.
I don't like either of those timelines.
No, I don't like either of them.
Anyways, let's put all of this stuff away.
And there are 2 additional, or 3 additional personalities there.
Oh, okay.
There's Parker, who needs the Statue of Liberty destroyed and Osama bin Laden captured and the first black president elected. And Mick, who needs sort of the opposite of that with the war continuing in Afghanistan, Osama bin Laden captured and the first female president. Vincent, however, needs earlier timeline stuff. He needs 48, Berlin to host the World's Fair, 74, President King to take office, and 2003, Saddam Hussein captured. The Bush years remain the same. My 21st century is basically identical, except for those little differences you notice when you visit a strange place. Like Bush comparing Hussein to Hitler. Who's Hitler? Where I come from, Stalin is the evil dictator of comparison. And Obama wasn't the first black president, just the first to get there by winning an election. Because you have President King.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember that big statue?
At first, the debate around TRA headquarters was, what other bad thing would happen if a chrononaut undid 9/11, as per Hodgman's theory of temporal karma? After someone did, the debate became which was worse, the loss of the towers or of our national freedom symbol. Either way, in my universe, we captured bin Laden. And remember Florida.
So this was published, or the Gorriers came out before bin Laden was killed.
Yeah. In the 2060s, global warming destroyed most of Florida. But in my universe, Gore's environmental initiatives delayed this by about 10 years. During that extra decade, a massive circular levee was built around the city of Orlando, with key areas of the vacation mecca also being enclosed under huge domes. This was my hometown. Islando.
Islando. Okay.
So that's the Gore years. And it does have a little converter, so you can tell, like, if the halt attack would affect the towers, and sway voting works on that.
Sway voting? Only works
that
on
might
the
be
year
in
2000.
Early Americans.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So here's the
That's those.
20th century timeline.
Yeah.
Here are the folks that we got home. Oh, I'm so happy.
I'm so proud of us.
That was good.
We did very well this time around.
Yeah.
These are early American actions, and these are the actions for. These are missions. These are the missions from the main game. This goes there.
We do have a lot of Chrononauts.
Yeah, we do. This is the Lost Identities top card,
Gotcha.
but we've basically just folded those in.
Yeah.
All right. So these
So
are
Early American is playable by its lonesome.
Yeah, you
It
can
is
just
its
play
own
it.
game.
New basic rules on your turn: draw 2, discard 1, and play 1. So you can do some hand sculpting. And to win, you must complete all 3 standard winning conditions. The universe is only destroyed if 13 paradoxes are within 4 consecutive timeline rows.
Oh,
So if you're playing the Uber Chrononauts, artifacts from the future are unplayable in an Uber paradox. Use this inverter converter, and it has avert disaster, halt attack, and prevent assassination. Tells you what they work on. So yeah. So we have some new personalities. We've got some new missions. We've got our timeline. And we've got actions. We want to lay those out.
Okay.
So our personalities, because we'll go through that after you have it laid out.
Yeah.
Our personalities are Kevin. The South did rise again, or rather in your reality it did. It happened in the 1890s. How? Someone dusted off an early draft of Jefferson's appeal to world opinion, and the power of that original title, the Declaration of Independence, ignited an entirely different revolution. But just like the first Civil War, it ended with defeat for the South. Spa Fawn. Another intelligent cockroach. Use only during Uber Chrononauts, so if you're doing both timelines. Hot time in the Old Town tonight. Okay, I confess. Aliens aren't taking samples of your cows. It's me, a highly evolved cockroach biologist from the future. I'm really sorry, but the fire was just an accident. My stunner missed. The cow spooked and kicked over the lantern. And you know the rest. Why couldn't I have been an anthropologist like my cousin? Yeah. Sharon. The Declaration of Independence? What's that? You mean the appeal to world opinion? Yes, that document was as important as the articles as amended. Huh? Oh yeah, in this reality it's called the Constitution and Bill of Rights. You know, I realize these documents are functionally equivalent, but I'd rather they have the correct titles. Minkoff. One of your ancestors was a Cherokee who survived the Trail of Tears. Later, she met a Russian pioneer who came to America in 1828. Your fragile family tree even includes a survivor of the Charleston slave revolt of 1879. But the person you really owe your existence to is a chrononaut named Bob Fruitbasket.
Sweet.
After burning D.C., the British moved north to attack Baltimore. They bombed Fort McHenry all night, but in the morning, the U.S. flag was still there. This inspired a song which became the national anthem a century later, but in your history books, the British were stopped at Bladensburg, and that song was never written. Jim. Some slaves escaped on the Underground Railroad. You hitched a ride on a time machine. You were there when those Chrononauts stole the secret plans that made the South lose the war. Not that you're complaining, this reality is much nicer, but you must go back, unfortunately. The love of your life doesn't exist here.
Ooh.
Time Walker. You used to hate the stories, how your ancestors were forced to abandon their homelands, but at least they arrived at a truly sovereign nation. The reservations, which are scattered around in this alternate reality, seem almost like prison camps to you. If only the great chieftain who first united your people hadn't died instead.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's some dark stuff in here. Norman. In your reality, Remember the Maine inspired the Second Civil War. In this reality, it sparked the much less horrific Spanish-American War. In both realities, the explosion that sank the battleship in Havana Harbor was blamed on a convenient nearby enemy. However, chronohistorians agree that the real cause was a bolt of lightning. Ivan. Alexander's crazy, they said in 1804, but after Ludovic Kharkov's famous journey from Alaska to New Orleans, the extended Russian Empire seemed connectable. Tragically, few Russian outposts endured against Indian attacks and American pioneers, but your ancestors became wealthy when Russia profitably resold Louisiana during the California Gold War. But now that all sounds crazy. Maria. You've studied 17 languages, including English, Spanish, Dutch, French, German, Russian, several Native American dialects, and 2 artificial languages from the future. Unfortunately, when someone changes history while you're outside the time stream, the knowledge in your brain can get rippled. Dr. O'Reilly calls your condition chronoelastic amnesia. His advice? Go home and stay there. Dr. O'Reilly. You began as a doctor from Chicago. In 1881, you became famous by saving President Garfield. How? You removed the bullet, which Alexander Graham Bell's fancy gizmo couldn't locate, and your knowledge of Alfred Lister's antiseptic treatments kept infection from killing the president. Tragically, 10 years before that, you died in the Great Chicago Fire. You're a freedom-loving chrononaut. You journey through time and space. This is Steve. Seeking out the biggest fun. Your favorite hotspots? Throwing cake in Boston in 1773, and the party in Neuilly when they opened the Statue of Freedom in 1886. P.S. For the best in Cuban cigars, the South must not win the Civil War. Donald. You love secret plans. Your collection includes the fake plans Washington duped the British with in 1780, the real plans Lee lost in 1862, and British battle plans from 1814, which this reality's never seen. However, since other chrononauts seem to be switching documents for forgeries willy-nilly, you've realized your whole collection may be completely fake. Jeremiah. You like fires. Not that you're an arsonist, nor even a pyromaniac. You just enjoy watching things burn. That's why you also love time travel. You can go back in time and watch the same fire burn again and again. But although you like big fires, as a patriot, you can't stand seeing DC burn. And that is those are the personalities from this timeline. So, let's talk about this timeline. In 1770, tea is exempted in the tax repeal. Townshend duties on goods such as paint, paper, and glass, but not tea, are lifted. Instead, you can have the Townshend Act fully repealed. Burdensome taxes on trade goods, including tea, are withdrawn. So instead, the Boston Tea Party won't happen. Instead, I think there's a cake party.
'73 prime.
Boston Cake Riot. Angry colonists throw cakes at redcoats and smash a bakery in response to the enforcement of the bakery toll of 1771. Shots fired at Lexington. Hostilities begin at Lexington and Concord after the Minutemen are called to arms by riders in the night yelling the redcoats are coming. Instead, Concord Armory quietly seized. With news of their arrival kept secret, British troops march on Concord and take control of weapons cache while facing only minimal resistance.
And that flips.
1776. 1898. All the way up here. And 1904.
So, yeah.
So 1776.
Yeah, instead of Declaration of Independence, Continental Congress signs document declaring freedom from British rule.
An appeal to world opinion. Continental Congress finally endorses Jefferson's document declaring that the colonies should be independent. And then 1898, Second War between the states begins. Sinking of the Maine is blamed on Southern saboteurs, leading to new war between North and South. And 1904, USA reunited. After many years of functioning as a separate nation and after themselves abolishing slavery, the Confederate States again become part of the USA. All right.
In 1780, the French arrive.
Okay.
George Washington prevents preemptive attack on French at Newport by allowing British spies to intercept fake plans for American attack on British at New York. If that doesn't happen, French destroyed. Newly arrived Allied troops suffer devastating defeat when British attack before French encampment is fortified, which flips 1781, 1783, and 1886. So in 1781, in our universe, the British surrender at Yorktown. Colonists win freedom after the French forces help Americans defeat British troops. What happens in the alternate universe?
The Dutch arrive. The Dutch.
Again!
With Holland already fighting the Fourth Anglo-Dutch War with England and the French support for America failing, the Dutch agree to send military support.
Okay. What happens in 1783 instead of a Treaty of Paris, where the American and British delegations meet in Paris to sign a treaty which officially ends the Revolutionary War?
The British surrender at New Amsterdam. Original Dutch name for Port City of New York is adopted after colonists win freedom by defeating the British with support of Dutch and hired Danish fleets.
Even old New York
was once New Amsterdam. Why they changed it, I can't say.
Obviously, it was a time traveler's fault.
Yeah.
1886. Normally, in our universe, Statue of Liberty opens. The statue is a gift from France, inspired by French support of the American Revolution. Well, the French were destroyed in the American Revolution.
Right.
So what happens in this timeline?
Well, the Dutch have been helping us, so the Statue of Freedom is built. American and Dutch symbols of freedom are combined in a huge statue constructed on an island in Nieuwe Harbor of a woman with an eagle on her arm riding a lion. Badass.
Sounds dramatic.
Yeah. So we can undo those.
Okay.
Constitution written in
1787. Yes, the Constitution is written. The Great Compromise is reached, allowing new character of United States government to be completed. So what happens if we don't have the 39th parallel or the Great Compromise?
So what years?
1791 and 1846.
All right. In 1791, the Articles as amended are adopted.
Instead of the Bill of Rights.
Right. Was it 1846? Was the other one?
1846, okay. Yes.
Yep. New convention finally agrees on major revision of the Articles of Confederation with numerous amendments strengthening national government, tempered by the Declaration of Citizens' Rights.
That's instead of section of D.C. returned to Virginia.
Well, that's instead of Bill of Rights adopted. Section of D.C. Returns to Virginia. D.C. stays square. Congress rejects short-sighted motion to give away Virginian real estate, thus allowing the nation's capital to retain the shape of its original design, a square 10 miles on each side. Okay.
Never get a statehood, though. Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah. So the Louisiana Purchase. In our timeline, Jefferson sends Monroe to France, or offering to buy Port City of New Orleans. The deal ends up including all of Louisiana. Instead, the New Orleans Purchase. Napoleon sells the port city of New Orleans to America while holding out for a better deal on the bulk of Louisiana territory. This flips 1804, 1848, and 1867. It's down there.
Okay.
1848.
So in 1804, in our universe, the Lewis and Clark expedition happens. The Corps of Discovery sets out from St. Louis on an epic journey to map and explore the newly acquired Louisiana Territory. Well, we didn't get the whole Louisiana Territory, so what happens in this universe?
So in 1804, Russia buys Louisiana Territory. Tsar Alexander I announces plan for the establishment of Russian outposts.
Interesting.
In 1848, instead of
California Gold Rush, gold is discovered in California after the region is conquered by America as part of the U.S.-Mexico War.
California Gold War. U.S.-Mexico War escalates due to discovery of gold in 1845 by Russian-born pioneers.
Okay. 1867, in our universe, it's the Alaska Purchase. Secretary of State Stewart negotiates purchase of Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million.
Cuba Purchase. CSA's Secretary of State Robert E. Lee negotiates with Spain to purchase Cuba as new Southern territory. Tecumseh dies during battle. Influential chief of Shawnee tribe is killed at Battle of the Thames. But if he survives, by escaping death in battle, the Shawnee chief also keeps alive his dreams of building a grand alliance of Indian nations. 1876.
That's Custer's Last Stand.
1890. Massacre at Wounded Knee.
So in 1876, instead of Custer's Last Stand, the 7th Cavalry destroyed by Sioux and Cheyenne warriors at the Battle of Little Bighorn.
We have the Indian Peace Treaty of 1876. The Indian Wars are finally ended when General George Custer smokes the peace pipe with Chief Sitting Bull.
And instead of in 1890, the massacre at Wounded Knee, the 7th Cavalry ambushes Sioux encampment, killing at least 300 Native Americans.
Indian Nation established. Territory north of the new state of Dakota is internationally recognized as an independent nation of the 9 civilized tribes.
I like that timeline.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, 1814, British burn Washington, D.C. That's in our universe. After demolishing poorly commanded defenders at the Battle of Bladensburg, the British troops marched into the capital and set the city on fire. That
so what does that affect?
1846 and 1916.
1846 we've already done. That was D.C. Stays Square.
Okay.
But America the Beautiful made national anthem. President Woodrow Wilson orders it played at military and naval occasions. That happens instead of the Star-Spangled Banner being the national anthem. Personally, I like America the Beautiful better.
Yeah.
It's easier to sing.
Not quite so racist.
Yep.
Battle of New Orleans in 1815. Andrew Jackson makes a name for himself in major victory over the British. That's going to flip 1838 and 1890. In the alternate universe, Battle of Orleans halted. News about the signing of the Treaty of Ghent arrives just in time to prevent bloody confrontation.
So we already did the Indian Nation established, which is one of the years it affects.
Yep, 1838.
1838, Cherokee Indians not removed. President Henry Clay honors the Supreme Court ruling of 1832, allowing Cherokees to remain in Georgia instead of the Trail of Tears.
Yep, I like that.
I'm okay with that too.
Battle of the Alamo. Remember the Alamo becomes rallying cry for the Texas War of Independence. That's in 1836. In the alternate universe, Alamo razed. General Sam Houston decides that the San Antonio mission cannot be properly fortified or defended and orders the Texan revolutionaries to abandon and tear down the Alamo. Remember the what now?
All right, that's 45 and 48.
Yep.
All right. So we've already done the California Gold War in 1848.
So instead of Texas gained statehood.
Yep. Texas uprising provokes war. The burning of Austin during the Second Texas Revolution leads to declaration of war on Mexico by the United States.
Almost done. Maryland votes not to secede. This is in 1861. On the eve of secession vote, Lincoln orders the arrest of 31 disloyal members of the Maryland legislature, along with many other prominent secessionists. That's what happened in our universe.
Yep.
In the alternate universe, Maryland secedes. Forewarned of impending arrests, secessionist leaders evade capture long enough to vote for Maryland to join the Confederacy. And that flips a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It flips 1866, 67, 1898, and 1904.
All right. Well, we've already done 1867. That was a Cuba Purchase. And we've done 1904, the USA reunited. In 1866, the South wins the Civil War. Victory for the Confederacy is declared when the President of the United States surrenders to CSA troops, ending siege of Washington. And Second War between the states begins in 1898. Sinking of the Maine is blamed on the Southern saboteurs, leading to new war between the North and the South. So, yeah.
In 1862, rebels retreat. Discovery by Union soldiers of Special Order 191 revealing deployment leads to Battle of Antietam and the retreat from the Confederacy. In the alternate universe, rebels advance, with Northern commanders unable to predict General Lee's bold maneuvering. Confederate troops march into Pennsylvania, pursued by the Union Army. It flips 64 and 66.
66 we just did. The South wins the Civil War. 64 is Lee's march to D.C. Lincoln wins re-election by just 2 electoral votes as the Confederate Army begins to surround Washington, D.C.
And the last thing is the Great Chicago Fire.
Yep. Which flips 1 year. The Great Chicago Fire is fire starts in the O'Leary family barn and spreads across town, killing 300 and destroying a third of the city, but not the O'Leary house. If that doesn't happen, then Garfield apparently doesn't die. 11 weeks after being shot by Charles J. Guiteau, President Garfield dies from infection of unhealed gunshot wound. But if the fire doesn't happen, fire doused in O'Leary barn. Mysterious fire extinguished before destroying barn by equally mysterious unknown fireman. And Garfield lives. A doctor from Chicago who insists on antiseptic treatments is successful at removing bullet from wounded president, enabling his full recovery.
So there's the early American years.
Yeah.
I think this is a good teaching tool.
Yeah. It's definitely something that would be interesting to use in a school. And I think even if it does simplify things, for one, yeah, but that gets you started talking. And two, you can talk then about why is this too simplified? What else do you think would need to happen in order for this to be the outcome? What other things that aren't mentioned in this game, because the game is obviously going to be fairly limited, what other things would this affect? What other possibilities could there be? You know, obviously this is a game, so you have only so many possibilities in your deck. But what other possibilities might you see if something like this were to happen? So yeah, that's
Chrononauts.
That's Chrononauts. And
one of our favorite games.
Yeah. Chrononauts also has that the early Americas have, you know, their own actions and their own artifacts. It's like infinite duration batteries, a mating pair of live dodo birds, matter replicator, Napoleon's Napoleon, the extra large time machine. If you have this gadget on the table, you may immediately play, in addition to your normal turn, any or all of the artifacts, but not the gadgets, in your hand and draw to replace them. You may only use one time machine action per turn. So yeah, there are other gadgets. It's a temporal shield, a very clean time machine. And the friendly robotic errand doer, the Chrono Fred. The Super Deluxe Time Machine. If you have this gadget on the table, you may play an extra action or time warp card after your normal turn action. Before following that card's instruction, draw to replace it. So, yeah. It's a really fun game. I highly recommend checking it out. It's one of those games where the box is fairly, like, simplistic looking. But once you get to play it, it's really fun. And I've demoed it at PAX East a couple of times now. And whenever I get to demo it at PAX East, we always have a really good time. So,
We'll have to get Chrono Trek.
Yeah.
Chrono
Track.
All right. I need to turn the oven on because I am making more bread because some Extra Life winners won bread.
Yep.
So thank you, everybody, so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
That was a spectacular game, Amanda. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
Good
job.
If you would like to continue to watch Amanda do stuff, she's going to be reading in about half an hour.
50 minutes.
Oh, wow. Is it only 9?
It's 9:10.
Okay.
So yeah, in a little under an hour, I will be over on my channel, Merriman Lion, to read another section of Tamara Pierce's Mastiff, book 3 in the Becca Cooper trilogy. And we are getting near the end. We have about a week left on this book before we move on to Tempest and Slaughter, which means I need to start putting bookmarks in Tempest and Slaughter.
There's just been a major fire.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder if that was intentionally set.
Well, anyways.
We'll see you all in into the big conclusion area.
Yeah. Oh, a lot of things like wear eye protection because a lot of loose threads are going to come whipping at you. Yeah, it gets messy. It gets really messy.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you for joining us. And we'll play more games next week. I'm going to try and get Tiny Towns.
Tiny Towns and maybe
Chrono Track.
Chrono Track.
Probably not in time for next week's stream.
Maybe the week after.
Maybe. All right.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, folks.